Patrick Beatty Reviews, the #1 for news. It's Patrick Beatty Reviews, #1 for news. Yeah, tune in, get up. Yeah, what's up?
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
What is up, my Gaggle Geeks, and welcome to another podcast episode where we're going to be talking about the Star Wars Celebration recap, about everything that happened, all the announcements this celebration, and really just how many people are going to be upset that Rey is back. I have with me a very incredible man that is going to just lay down all of the info with us. It's Don Shanahan. How's it going, man? Oh, you got to mute you. So close. You're muted. No,
Patrick, thank you. Good
there
to
you
be
are.
here. Hey, there it is. No, I was trying to be all cool in case people make noise here.
It's okay. I've got sound effects for either one.
That's what I needed. That's what I needed. Yeah, come in.
It's so
Screw up
good
your
to
own
have
intro.
you.
No, great to be here, Patrick. Thank you for having me. It's nice to catch you on I'm on spring break as a school teacher, so my freedom is wonderful and gets me to be able to do this stuff.
Very cool. Everybody look down below. Make sure that you're following him on Twitter with Casablanca Don and with Film Obsessive, where he's putting out all the good podcasts. He's got reviews, he's got interviews. And we're going to talk about one of the movies that came out this week that I didn't get a chance to cover,
All right.
but that I was very curious about. Honestly, we'll talk a little bit about that later. But first, let's break down what happened this week. First, the big news is that Star Wars Celebration happened, and with so many things that we can discuss, I want to first ask you, as a newcomer to the podcast, Jay probably doesn't know you very well. Jay's my one fan, so Jay will know. What is your affiliation with Star Wars? What are your feelings towards it? And are you into this big corporate celebration stuff?
I'm okay with it because I get I get the business side and I get the fan side. I mean, from a business side standpoint, yeah, sell your product, do your own thing. If you can fill your own convention and not go to San Diego in July because you're that big and you can bring that kind of following, yeah, go have your show. I mean, Disney does the same with D23. You see a couple other people kind of, veer that direction. I think the idea of going to different cities every year is pretty sweet in terms of just like instead of having just one regular place where a convention can maybe get stale or overrun, you change it up with different cities. And I think London was graced with Star Wars' presence. I think 2 years ago it was in Chicago. I thought nothing of it, where I thought, oh man, that would be a nice thing to go to. I'm sure it'll be back next year, but then I'm like, no, it's a traveling roadshow thing where it'll never be back again, or at least it won't be back for a very long time. So I definitely missed my chance to see it here in Chicago. But as a fan, to kind of say where I'm at, I'm one of those people where I'm easy to please. I'm just happy there's more Star Wars, to say it like that. Like, I don't want to say the more the merrier. I would prefer it to be done well and all that, but I tend to be an easy grader on it. I'm happy there's more opportunities and chances for it to kind of tell its story and get different creators in there to do it. I think there was the JJ stuff was tricky. The sequel trilogy. I know that divided.
Let me stop you. Let me jump in right there, actually, because this will be the good test, right?
Okay.
Because we can all say that we love Star Wars and we're excited to see more Star Wars, but the where were you moments, right?
All right,
where were you and what were you feeling, thinking moments walking out of The Rise of Skywalker?
Oh, that's a good one. In a much different place in my head and in my heart than I did watching The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. So yeah, I think
was that a sidestep?
Yeah, I feel the deflated balloon. I feel the that was all that it was. We went all the way there for that. Where I don't like to use the word disappoint a lot when it comes to when I write and do reviews. I try to stay pretty even keeled. I don't like to use the big E word of expectation. So I try to really go into these movies pretty light, pretty easy. I don't watch trailers. So I was happy there was more Star Wars. I was happy to see. I've always been a fan of Daisy Ridley and what she's been able to bring. Like, no matter how much junk is going around her in those films, she was always a guiding light and a steady presence. Where I was happy to see what she can do. Where having a very Rey-centered movie was solid. Everything else I can take or leave. I know they were put in a bad position when it came to the death of Carrie Fisher, and that obviously derailed what they could do between movies 2 and 3. But no, I felt the reduction. I felt the loss. Did it make
reduction's a good term?
Yeah, but did it make me throw out all my Star Wars figures and burn things down? No, I'm fine. That they ended it the way they ended it. There's enough coda there where I'm glad Adam Driver had his moment. I'm glad you're back in Tatooine burying lightsabers. I don't know, it was fine.
I wasn't glad with that.
Yeah, it was.
Boy.
But I'm not one of those people, like I said, that's gonna just throw out the baby with the bathwater. But it is tricky.
Grogu.
Yeah,
Can't throw out the Grogu with the bathwater.
that's the way to say it too. That's the baby we want. And that's the thing. Like, it amazes me how much creativity they've been able to put into the television shows and with the longer form storytelling, and then they get to the movies and it's just a rushed job that you would think, man, they would get something big and get something right, but then they kind of don't. And I'm glad the TV side is course correcting what they can with the movies, but it's just you've kind of already got that smear. It's gonna be tricky, especially with this Star Wars Celebration and a new Daisy Ridley film being announced. Where does that go? Are you bringing me back in? Is it The Godfather? How do you get Daisy Ridley off Tatooine and back into business? I don't know how you do that. So,
well, as Anakin Skywalker said, this is where the fun begins, and we're going to break down what these mean. From what I understand with the Daisy Ridley film, which it's kind of fascinating to me because I got to see her at Sundance, and like from everything I discussed with her, it seems like she was way more on the producer back end of things.
Okay.
She was much more interested in doing things like that. So this news kind of caught me off guard because I'm like, me and Daisy, we're best buds. We should know all the stuff, right?
Right.
And with this, it's set 5 years after The Rise of Skywalker, I believe.
Okay.
Or was it 15? I don't know.
Age her up if it's 15. She has
It would be quite
a
a while.
gorgeous baby face herself. So
right.
I'll take 5.
Now, the thing is, I believe that this is going to be really no creative team behind the sequel trilogy is going to be associated with this.
Okay.
That they're doing their own thing. I am curious if Daisy Ridley has some type of producer credit attached to it, and that could be why she's back. I'd be fascinated to learn about that. But if for all we know, this is going to be her building the Jedi again, starting the Order the way that we thought it was going to be with Luke. Maybe we're going to see Grogu show up at this point, have a little bit of training starting there. Maybe we can see Ezra appear from there. Maybe everything that this Filoni-verse, which is that what we should call it now, the Filoni-verse?
That's a good term for it. I think that's a good place to be.
Right.
Can we merge the names of Filoni and Favreau into some Benefer kind of thing?
Falavraverse.
Favreau? Double F.
The Falavraverse. The Flavorverse.
Falavraverse. Yeah. We can just order falafel when we're done.
It sounds like something that Jon Favreau would make for us at a barbecue.
He sure would, and I would eat it. Let me tell you, that man can cook. I guess my question to you about this Daisy Ridley thing, since you're in cahoots and know her as a producer, I guess would be the film side. What kind of creative presence would you hope would step into there? Like what type of writer and what type of director would you like to see maybe take that character in a better and new direction?
Well, I think we need a new dynamic for Rey, because right now Rey has kind of been a character that's been whisked on adventures and not really like gone on her own to do something, right?
Agreed.
It's all been put in place. She has to do certain things to get to certain points. Now that she can be on her own, she's buried the lightsabers. She could either start the Jedi, she can do kind of the Ahsoka type of thing, be kind of like a gray Jedi going around, or she could start going to the political side. I don't know. But the thing is, I don't see anything from the sequel trilogy that I feel could be expanded any further than where that went. Like that arc is done, so we need a new arc.
Yeah, like if you were to bring back a third iteration of the Empire and Stormtroopers, it would feel, especially 5 years after, even if it's 10 years after, it would feel like another Force thing. If you bring back Oscar Isaac or John Boyega, who sounds like he won't come back ever again anyway. I don't know where you go. And I think you're right. That would put her back in the group, in the party, in the adventure versus something of her own thing. I'm with you. This can be I know Obi-Wan Kenobi is not the best example because she's not that old, but the idea of a solo adventure into a certain way of unknown or a place of self-discovery, I'd be down with that too. What director to put there, I wouldn't know. I'll be that guy that says, hey, let's get a female director. I know Patty Jenkins was circled for a Star Wars film for a bit there. It got tabled and shelved, but a director of that ilk and quality would be pretty cool. I can't name a name that would be
there's going to be a director showing for it. It's Charmin Obaid-Chinoy. She was a director on the Miss Marvel series.
I'll take that.
And she's done a few documentaries from what I've been able to see. for it. But okay, so it is going to be set 15 years after the events of the Rise of
15. I'll
Skywalker.
take that. That
15
you
years.
know what?
They've got the aging
That's
tech. They can do it
yeah,
a little.
and your makeup will do a job. But that'll wash a lot of the bad taste of any lingering stuff. Like you're not
Right.
keeping old boyfriends and old flames that long. Like especially if we're doing the whole rebuild the Jedi Order. And okay, I'll take that.
Right.
I'll take that.
What was she
Charmin
before?
obeyed
Like
Fenway. Okay.
before her journey, she was basically
Mhm.
just, scavenger, right?
Yeah.
So what's a
she knows how
scavenger
to do.
do when she doesn't have anything else to do?
I don't know.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Because like she went from being I'm almost a hermetic lifestyle to thrust into all the adventure that turned into the sequel trilogy. How do you come down from that? How do you ramp back up for that to a larger cause? So
Right.
no, I'm down for it. You had me at Days of Ridley. So I mean that movie's good to go.
Right, definitely. Well, and to move a little bit further into this, the Filoniverse is opening up, and it could extend out to Rey. But let's talk about where it is in the streaming verse. So, Ahsoka is going to be the next show that's coming after the Mandalorian. Mandalorian, we now know, is officially getting kind of a conclusive arc. That's starting to happen. Whether or not that's going to be next season, we don't know for sure. But they did kind of say they're working on concluding this or intertwining it with what we're seeing in the future. Is that right?
I think so. And if it is this season, they better wrap it up quick. They only got like 3 episodes left in there,
season.
and they're kind of going. I'm not saying they're spinning their wheels with filler, but this little dance and hopscotch around little gets and little do's is taking a while. So yeah,
that's true. But Ahsoka will be next. This is the one that everybody's excited for, mainly because if you love Star Wars, which we do, you've loved it for decades. You know the expanded lore, you know the legacy stuff, and the new canon that's coming back is coming with Thrawn in the Heir to the Empire series. Now, we can talk a lot about how we feel this is going to go, and I'm excited to. So to start off, Rosario Dawson came out on stage, accompanied by Natasha Liu Bordizio and Mary Elizabeth Winstead, all basically like just fanning out about how cool it is that there are these characters brought to life from Dave Filoni's universe. And animated into live action has been working really well for him. But what did you think seeing the presentation and the trailer?
I didn't see much of the presentation. I hung on the trailer. I know I said I don't watch trailers. I don't watch trailers for movies. I'll watch a trailer for a TV show because it's harder to spoil something that's 8 hours long than something 2 hours long. But I was impressed. I know I had a couple of people say, "Oh, it looks like fan fiction and week this and week that." I don't see what those folks see. I see the pretendingness of this kind of the doom and the threat to this character, and how obviously she's kind of a rogue person that has to kind of handle and survive on her own with obviously high skill and high ability, but you've got some people out there chasing her. So I was impressed by just what the trailer could show, the tone of it. I am so there for Rosario Dawson. This is a great thing for her. And then Dave Filoni has not really screwed anything up for us for quite a long time, where my trust is there, and surrounding her with fantastic co-stars. And again, the energy of the show. I think it's easy in a convention setting for everyone to be hyped and everyone to be excited and put the best face forward. You're marketing, for goodness sakes, when you're up there. But I do think the product just shows. And I think even when you get to that list of directors of who's going to kind of cover some of those episodes, because most of those TV shows, you bring in about a half dozen different directors to kind of steer a piece of this, steer a piece of that. Like we've enjoyed Bryce Dallas Howard a lot for this past couple of Mandalorian seasons, where when you've got Rick Fayoumi and you've got Steph Green and Peter Ramsey, and then Filoni himself, you've got good talent. And that's one thing that the Star Wars side of Disney has been able to do, is find and keep around very good talent to surround great cast and great production and put their money into it. So yeah, I'm impressed.
And now that they've got passion involved to it too,
very much so,
and really just like a creative genius behind it. It's I'm very excited. Where do you think this season is going to end off? Is it going to be setting up a whole new series? Is it going to be setting up a season 2 of Ahsoka, or will we be leading right into the movie that Dave Filoni is now set to be directing?
I got a feeling like it'll be the movie. Like
I think so too.
I think that Ahsoka gets one great season to do what she can do, and if the Mandalorian is circling itself to kind of get there, because it does sound like this Filoni film is kind of the catch-all. I think we'll get Boba Fett back in this. It sounds like other pieces and parts will kind of come into play, and I'm down for that. The tricky thing for them is going to be is finding the right thing that brings them all together, but is still in a condensed way of something that could fit in a 2-hour movie. What is that? I mean, we've been able to enjoy the luxury of 8-episode, really stretched out, long form storytelling, patience driven seasons. You don't have that when you have a 2-hour movie. You have a bit of a let's go and let's chase and let's finish things. So
Right.
what will ramp them up? I mean, if you can put now, if you're kind of funneling that energy fantastically, if you have 3 different shows that all end on a big cliffhanger that's going to point to this movie. Like if Ahsoka ends with a bang and Mandalorian ends with a bang, and I'm not sure if there's season 2 of Book of Boba Fett, but if all 3 of those funnel to a big place, you got us. But
Right.
that'll be the challenge, is timing all that.
Do you think they've got anything to worry about if they decide we want to go full Heir to the Empire, bring in a digital Luke, a digital Han, and a digital Leia, and actually tell some of
Yeah.
that story that we haven't seen adapted? Or will it be something much like what the Clone Wars was doing with Revenge of the Sith, where we know the events, we know it's being played out, but we're not really in that side of the journey.
Yeah.
We just are hearing about it and we're going through our own journey.
That is, I think you're right. That's a crucial decision point when it comes to writing and putting it together, if they want to go there or not. You can tell Disney's not afraid to go there by doing the digital Luke. They've done two different
They've
iterations,
done
two
Luke
different seasons.
and Leia,
That's right.
and they have a young Han. That's all I'm saying. They have everything right there.
Well, for this one, you would need old Han. You would,
Right.
You can't. I don't know if this would be post Return of the Jedi. Alden Ehrenreich. I don't know if you can bring that back, but that'll be the challenge. I think Disney has to sit down and kind of ask themselves, do we want to, and does it play well? Because I know you've got mixed feelings and results from a lot of the fandom on whether or not that has ever really worked. Like, you have some people who are geek out that we get young Leia showing up in Rogue One, that we had Luke, coming to save the day in The Mandalorian, and obviously develop Grogu in a few snippets as we got after that. But people, I mean, you still have that layer of people and a vocal layer of people who are weirded out by these actors, even actors, I say like that, even being there in that capacity, where if you go there, it's and to what level and how much. That's a tough decision. I don't know.
Right.
How would you want that? Would you want to leave them out?
At this point, I just want to see what they could do, because
Yeah,
what they were able to bring out with specifically Mandalorian season 2, because
yeah,
I would consider that the new guard, right? Rogue One was kind of an offshoot, accidentally brilliant kind of film, because it had a lot of stuff going against it when it was in production. But with this, it was a setup and a payoff that delivered really well. And Peyton Reed has not directed anything better since.
I agree.
But now we have the ability. Could it be biting off more than you could chew? Could
That's
it be?
my wonder. Yeah.
Do we get Sabak or Sabayoth showing up? Do we have? I think we can have a lot of potential with those kind of side characters that were part of the book, but still not necessarily be like, and now we follow Luke, Han, and Leia going to this thing. Maybe we'll get holograms. Holograms are doable.
Holograms are doable. You don't have to be as sharp in the effects with that sort of thing. The other thing would be how much they want to springboard that towards The Force Awakens or not, because that's the gap we're filling there, So we know, I mean, if they're going to keep that canon, so to speak, and I'd be stunned if they were to erase 3 very profitable
They can't.
movies.
Ray's coming.
Can't. Toothpaste out of the tube, right? So, and somehow you have to plug that in somewhere. Maybe it's the plans. Maybe the plans we're asking are, what's after the movie? Do you keep filling that gap between, these 6 to 8 years after Return of the Jedi, and just keep inching closer and closer to Force Awakens with, 25 years, 20 years to play with? Or do you let that be, and then go explore other places, which is the other third movie that's on the list here, and you go back in time or you go forward in time. So I don't know. They got a bigger challenge than just the movie.
Well, speaking of going back in time, we do have 2 more that are, well, actually, I suppose 3. The Acolyte, which we've not really heard much information about at all.
Yeah.
What we've been told is it's set in the High Republic era, and it's Frozen meets Kill Bill, which the weirdest switch.
Yeah. Walk into that elevator and hear that pitch.
A peanut butter and zucchini sandwich.
Right.
It's okay. Fine. But we did have Lee Jun Jae and Jodie Turner Smith. Amandla Stenberg, all
Mhm.
there. We got to see footage of Carrie Ann Moss being amazing, doing her Matrix moves.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to seeing just what the heck this is. And it seems like they have a lot of respect towards that era of Star Wars storytelling, and they're very excited to be the first to bring it in.
Right. This is High Republic, so we're talking thousands of years before First Jedi stuff here. Yeah, I
Mhm.
see. That's the place where I think a lot of those old school fans would love for things to go. Like, we've had so much Skywalker stuff, and even this Mandalorian and the Filoniverse still kind of puts a tie or two towards the Skywalker stuff. We still have Luke showing up. Where if you can remove all that and create fantastic characters, and you have all kinds of room to tell it, because we're talking about thousands of years,
Mhm.
that's the green pasture that I think they can explore endlessly if they really want to. So if this could be a good start for that, I'm down for it. And again, the talent you said and you mentioned, that's a great place to be. You love seeing the diversity. You love seeing the international casting. There's room for that in a galaxy far, far away, where you don't have to do the junk that is, you don't have to stay in any kind of lane. And I'm
Mhm.
happy with that. And I think what that series can do for a lot of folks, that until the next Daisy Ridley Ray movie gets here, is we'll have a Force user for a change. Like, we haven't had a
Mhm.
good, I mean, the only Force users we've had in the TV shows, or obviously the sequel 3 movies, are still in this Skywalker family tree of things. So to go out and find other people, that could be fun. And
Right.
I think that's some of the lore and some of the adventure that a lot of people gravitate to Star Wars for. If they're not into the politics and they're not into the swaggering pilots and the bounty hunters and whatnot, they want those true blue heroes. And I think there's a place for that.
Right. No, I agree. It's very interesting where they're choosing to go as far as eras, and that they're kind of covering all of their bases as far as
Truly.
Star Wars lore. It's really cool. Speaking of which, there was so much great response for Tony Gilroy and Diego Luna when they went on stage for Andor, and just seeing the response to, like, he was like, "I'm a writer. You don't get this kind of stuff as a writer, and I know that
True.
all of you are writers, and this is crazy. It's like I'm
Mhm.
Paris Hilton or something, you know." He didn't say
Yeah.
that part. I added that. But
It's
he
still,
he was
it
very
plays.
excited for it, and very well deserved. They're working on season 2.
Mhm.
They said they want it to fit like a glove as far as going right into Rogue One. So
That's gonna
just
be
like
cool.
how Rogue One fits into Episode 4, we're gonna have the
Yeah.
same thing.
I'll take that.
Mhm.
And what they've been able to do with Mon Mothma and extending that character, and like, again, like you said, they're touching on the bases where that is your political side, that is your behind the scenes side, that is your rebellion side, and there's definitely a place to have that. Where, yeah, that's gonna play just fine. Andor was fantastic. Diego Luna, my goodness. I mean, I didn't know how good we had it in Rogue One until I saw Andor, where he just knocks it out of the park even further. So,
Mhm.
yeah,
Some of the best monologues in Star Wars,
oh, that's
just
the thing.
period.
Like, and that's Tony. You have a great writer putting great material on paper and then getting it on the screen. Where, that's something that I don't think we can say we had in those J.J. Abrams arc of sequels. Where, I mean, I'm a Ryan Johnson Last Jedi fan. Like, I had no problem with the writing in that movie, despite the turns it took to challenge a few things. But
Mhm.
once you got to back to JJ and the third one, like we said with Rise of Skywalker, it's like cocktail napkins stitched together of bad ideas. So,
Right.
yeah.
Well, there was also a cool announcement that I didn't really hear a lot of info about, much like Acolyte is Skeleton Crew.
Mhm.
Jude Law came in. They kind of announced a group of directors that are working on it. John Watts is kind of heading this.
I'll take
The
John
pitch
Watts.
was the Goonies in space, which
You had
love
me.
it. Yep.
Yep.
Easy,
No,
easy sell for me. Let me list off some of these
go ahead.
directors: David Laurie,
Mm,
John Watts, The
mm.
Daniels, Drax Schreier, Bryce Dallas Howard, and Lee Isaac Chung. Like,
That's
wow.
fantastic. Yeah, I mean, what I like about it, again, touching bases in terms of Disney, now you have something for the kids.
Mhm,
The Mandalorian can skew a little bit more to that TV teen crowd because it goes a little darker, and
mhm,
you can tell something like Ahsoka's probably leaning in that very same direction. The Acolyte can be, we don't, it's still secretive, we just don't know, but the foreboding dark logo lets you know that it probably is going to skew teen. But if you do a
mhm.
kid thing, that's also the spirit of Star Wars. It's a youthful vibrance that's out there, and yeah, and when I think of youthful vibrance in terms of some of those filmmakers, you've got that. Like, we just saw the Daniels do something that a big kid would do on a coloring book, but turn it into a movie that wins Oscars.
Right.
Bryce,
If a little kid is drawing those kind of images,
Good
I don't
point.
know how.
Good point. Let's not draw dildos at the workplace. Good point.
How
good
would you
point.
handle that?
Yeah. Hey, Dad, look what I drew. I get a couple of those pictures. Let me tell you. But no, like you had me for there.
Different kind of
John
bone
Watts
for
knows how to
Skeleton
do
Crew.
teens and kids, and then David Lowery. Oh my goodness, he's got, for me, the best Disney reimagining they ever did was Pete's Dragon, because it just didn't do the carbon copy thing. It truly took the term of reimagining to heart and still gave you the feels and the solidness of that myth and lore of Pete's Dragon, but did it completely his own thing. And
Well, could you imagine if the director of Green Knight did the Goonies? That's insane.
That's the thing too. Well, he's got Peter Pan and Wendy coming up here in a couple of weeks,
Right.
And I just watched the trailer for that with my kids, where that also looks like, yes, you're showing Peter Pan, but you're showing it and you're doing the Disney Peter Pan, but again, something that looks wholly not a carbon copy, and that's something I admire David Lowery a lot on. So show him a Star Wars thing and let him go. So yeah, this would be, and then Jude Law. I mean, talk about an actor who knows his way around. He's reached that age now where we've seen it in the Harry Potter stuff where he can be a bit of a mentor figure, but at the same time, he's still got the swagger to be a leading man. So we catch him at a good time. Should
we do a little side tangent here and talk about Indiana Jones?
Did we cover the Logan, the James Mangold Star Wars film? Is that still?
That's still a thing.
That's the Filoni thing, or because that's the third feature coming out, right? We have Ridley, we have Filoni tying up the verse.
That's still the unsure whether of how soon it's coming, because based on I don't know who was doing. I think it was Steve Weintraub that was doing an interview and asked him which he was working on. It seems like he's tossing it up between Swamp Thing and this, which one he's going to do first. So
what would I tell the guy to do?
I would say go Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
We've not gotten a good Swamp Thing in a very ever. Like nobody's ever seen one that, except for I guess
the old TV show
series was
good.
Rough.
Yeah.
Or this last series was good, I heard. The one that only had one season and got axed.
Have you ever seen a snippet from the 80s, 90s live action show? It's messy and they tried.
Okay.
It's the 80s, so yeah.
Story of Rise of Skywalker. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Indiana Jones, yeah. I admit, this is one of those movies where I'm doing my best to avoid trailers on. I know the trailers are inescapable, but I obviously I still see the news. I still read the snippets. I see the images that are there of the de-aged Harrison Ford, where that also looks promising. And again, if that's the technology we're on, you're right. Maybe go take that shot, when bring that over to Star Wars, see what you can do. If that is something you can continue and bring those characters for.
You know what? It's fascinating that you said that you just mentioned that they were doing de-aging technology with Harrison Ford. Fascinating. I wonder if they're just gonna not use that stuff ever again.
I don't know if
if they're just we just made all these 3D renders and amazing models.
Can you make his hair?
We should just put that away and never use it.
Right.
Meanwhile, dollar signs are pouring out of Mickey's mouth and he's crying.
I wouldn't be. I know this is kind of a bigger industry thing, but I kind of wouldn't be surprised if there is an odd, I don't want to say last will and testament thing, but I can see agents and celebrity managers and all those people like that starting to negotiate what stars' likenesses are out there post-mortem. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a new, I don't want to say market for it, but
can we craft a Black Mirror episode around this real quick?
Right. But I could see, I could see actors starting to realize hey, I probably need to say something before my estate does it when I'm gone.
Let's call it retirement. Actors and actresses don't have retirement plans, right? With any other business, this is my Black Mirror pitch. With every other business, you've got a retirement plan. You can go get a pension. If you're a teacher, you can get tenure. There's all kinds of stuff that you can have. With an actor, you don't have that. So what's the price tag of your likeness that you can use, that you can give to your family for however long that lasts?
What would you
go ahead. What if your performances are so good that you're just I don't think I need to do this anymore. I'd rather just automate this system from now on.
What if there's like a posthumous Oscar, not just we've had Heath Ledger get an Oscar, dying while making the film.
Mhm.
and having that last until that season and that Oscar. What if it's like somebody on some computer and obviously reserved footage from the actor or actress like 3 years after their death? What if that's the best, I don't know, supporting performance of the year? It's a composite one from the computer. How do we do that? How do we
Hold on, I
do
got
you
it.
get
And the Oscar goes to. Hold on, where's
yeah.
I should have a drum roll. Hold on. Oscar goes to Chat GPT. Welcome, Chat GPT. Great job, everybody.
Right? I mean, I can't fathom that world. I mean, but I still see it being crazy possible where
Mhm. I
likenesses
think
are
it'd be
now
visual
brokered,
effects
or
award still.
I would hope so at that point. But I don't know what voter would like seriously be like, hey, that rendered thing is the best performance of the year. But stranger things have happened. I don't know.
They'll still put it out before they do a best stunts category.
I know, or they'll give it to some computer before they give it to like Andy Serkis acting his butt off behind paint
Right.
sensors and digital cameras. So yeah.
Right. Well, the Dial of Destiny, we won't
Mhm.
talk too much about it, but Mads Mikkelsen's the villain. Phoebe Waller-Bridge in it. Movie happening. Look good. Moving on. Star Wars Visions Volume 2 is happening. I don't know if you saw
Okay.
the first one. I thought it was pretty good. There's
I've
some
not
fun
seen the
stuff
first
in there.
But is that the one that kind of lends to Japanese animation in that style?
Yes,
Is that
I
how it
believe
veers?
so.
Okay, cool.
And I think, isn't this the one that brought in Qui-Gon and Dooku?
I think you're right.
I
I don't
believe
remember
this is the
Volume
one. So there's going to do some flashbacks, maybe talk about
Okay.
some different characters. I have no idea. Bad Batch.
Okay.
I don't watch the Bad Batch. Sorry, everybody.
I don't either.
I'm lame. Jedi Survivor. I don't have a PS5. Can we rage about that a little bit? Why
Whether you don't
why
have a
you hating on the
PS5 or the game
poors?
itself.
Why
Yeah.
don't you like us poors? We're just trying to play the Star Wars game.
Are you a Nintendo Switch guy? Or
I
like
have
what
a
system's
Switch.
your go-to
Is there
system?
one for the Switch that'll come
I
out?
doubt it. I think you're right about the
It
whole
seems like
Sony
it's
thing.
an enormous sized game, and all like
Right.
the
That
components
stuff
makes
doesn't
it
come on.
only PS5, which
Right.
I get that, but take the
Then it's
components
on
away and let
Nintendo.
us have that version.
Then it's on Nintendo and Microsoft to raise the game. Problem is, like you said, they'll raise their prices. So
And no, I think PlayStation needs to get their scalper things in order, come out with their slim version, and start lowering the prices of the regular model.
now we're talking.
They
I
just
missed
start
that
that.
when they did that. Started that back in 2. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, was there anything else that happened? I mean, there's tons
From
of
the
panel
Lucas.
stuff.
Yeah, and obviously there's novelizations and some pieces and parts that come there. I know there's comics and pieces that go there as well, but man, I'm really surprised how well they've been able to position themselves not that many years after what we can call a debacle of Rise of Skywalker, where you just didn't know what that studio was up to and doing. But look at them get back on good footing with surrounding themselves with good talent, putting talent first. I think, like you said, by where you started with having Daisy Ridley as a producer, like having just buy-in top to bottom, it helps from having a manic person here or there in control of something that has no just fact or just checking and just backup,
Right.
quality control, where it's not in one person's hands, it's in the team's hands. And I think that's always better. I know we'll get to a point where we might say too many cooks in the kitchen, but with something as big as Star Wars, when that sandbox is that big, you're going to need a lifeguard or two and another construction worker to deal with the sand. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, I'm very excited. I think there's a lot to look forward to with the future of Star Wars. Maybe it didn't look as promising as it does now, but I think they're doing what the MCU was doing with phase 1 through 3, where they did an
I agree.
experiment. It seems to be working, but time will tell if they actually can stick the landing or if they're going to have another Jonathan Major problem. Well, let's move on to the next. Why do I set myself up that with a horrible end joke? Like,
I don't know. We'll
I don't
work with
know.
it. We'll work with it.
Yeah.
Are we going to make a list, top 5 list right now? Which actors will screw Star Wars over? Number 1.
No. It would just be
No.
hilarious if they're like, we're gonna bring Ezra Miller from the DC universe into the
Oh.
Star.
There's a reason why that guy has not gotten any work other than a Flash film in the can. So
That's true. He hasn't really gotten anything since, has he?
no. And the only reason why we still hear about it is because this film, they keep sitting on this film until they get it right. So
right.
ugh.
Well, I think we got a good look at what we're going to be saying. So with that said, Don, thank you so much for joining. Let people know what you have going on and where people can follow.
You bet. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. The handles are mostly Casablanca Don, unless you find my real name, Don Shanahan. My published reviews are on Film Obsessive, and on my own site, Every Movie Has a Lesson. And then you can find myself hosting a podcast called The Cinephile Hits It Fit. It's sponsored by Film Obsessive, and it has my co-host, Will Johnson. And every week, we kind of take a film and break it down in kind of a love or hate format of who can win a battle of the hissy fit. And someday, we need this guy on the show as well. So we'll dig that up
You
and
need me
find
on the
a way.
show again. I was already on the show once.
Were you on our show or Aaron's show?
I believe it was your show, was it not?
I don't remember. Now it's been 106 episodes.
Because I remember we played that actually putting them up against each other. You're gonna have to go through the archives and find me. And if I'm not in it, then you just got a ton of free views. So
I have this feeling that it's Aaron's show and we were doing the draft.
Okay. The draft might be the same thing. Yeah, I was thinking.
Shout out to Aaron White and Feeling Film, because darn good podcast himself.
He's okay. Yeah. He's okay. He's you can't pick some of the people that you have in your life, and Aaron just kind of showed up.
Right. Or you stuff yourselves in a car in Sundance and have stories to go with it.
Oh, well, you're bringing that into it. Okay. There's a photo somewhere. If you go on Web Archives, it'll be somewhere. But make sure to follow me on Twitter and Facebook, and watch Daily Dish See It or Skip It every Fridays. And other than that, thank you so much. Oh, Renfield interview on Friday. Chris McKay, check it out. It's going to be awesome. Ooh. See you then.